Hello, hello, hello. I am going to come to you briefly on tonight. I am Frankie. I am coming to you. I am actually an author of The 31 Days to a Healthy Marriage Restoration and Rehabilitation. I personally been married for 32 years, and I'm just wanting to come to you live on tonight and kind of give you some marriage advice for you to abide by in order to have a healthy marriage. First of all, we all know that marriage is truly work, and so with that being said, we must always work on ourselves in order to be a productive wife or husband. And so I'm going to talk about one of the things that's in my book, which is talking about understanding the need of each other. Now, particularly, your spouse is not the same person that you met. You need your spouse to change. When I say you need your spouse to change, that means you do not want your spouse to stay the same. You want time for growth. So, if your spouse is staying the same and you guys been in this thing, even if it's been a few years, you want to make sure that you both are growing together. Therefore, you guys have room enough to make this thing called marriage work. Because if we always feel that our spouse have to be a particular way, or we try to make them be who we want them to be, then it would never be successful. However, when you know that you have work to do as well as your spouse, you allow your spouse to make those changes and you don't try and make them for him, as well as you make changes for yourself. What I'm meaning by that, I'm meaning if your spouse is trying, then allow your spouse to change in a way that he knows how, while you make a change for yourself as well. So, one of those things I talked about, as I stated, I'm talking about understanding the need of each other. You must pursue your spouse. The more you know, the better you become with change. Yes, there will be changing and challenging in a marriage. Think of change as being a good thing. So, some people don't like change. You want to stay the same. You know what I'm saying? That same person that he met 3, 5, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you want that person. But that's not good. That's not good for that person to stay who you want them to be. Allow them, as I said, to grow. Okay, now as I said, I'm coming to you. I'm just going to go over some things because I feel that, every marriage will have challenges in their marriage at some particular time. Do that make you a bad person? No, because if you don't have a challenge or if you don't have a struggle, then you don't know how to cope or handle different situations that you're going to have that will arise in your marriage. And so just allow those things to come, but don't try to figure them out. You know what I'm saying? The main thing you need to do, if any situation that comes arise, is that you need to make the right smart decision to do the right thing. That means not trying to point the finger, not trying to think that you're better, not always trying to make your point, not always feeling that you're right. You have to allow yourself to grow with your spouse. And so I'm not going to be before you long. I just kind of wanted to share some things. I'm actually having another book that's going to be revised. So there will be, if you got a copy of this particular book, this book that's coming out is going to actually have things where you actually be able to work together as a couple, if you're planning on getting married, or as a spouse, as a married couple. You guys are able to get this book, and then you're able to come together as a couple and see what you both learn. Because a lot of times, We can be with somebody forever and you still don't know that person like you thought you did. And so this gives us rooms to grow. This gives us time to come together. We can pray together. We give us time to come together and we can put some things together and brainstorm. I mean, if we invest like we do in other things in our marriages, just imagine where our marriages would be at this particular time in our lives. Of course, the devil hates marriages, and so anything that he can put before you, he will. And so you just have to be mindful of who you are and to allow yourself to know who you are and grow from that. Marriage takes growth. I mean, you can't be that same. Me personally, I got married very young, and so I can't be that young teenager that I was when I became a wife. I have to grow at some point. I cannot stay the same. And so with that being said, always allow yourself to grow in every area of your marriage. Every area of your marriage, you need to make sure that you are growing in. Never stay the same. Get godly counsel, because you can go and you can get all the different advice you want to. And especially if somebody is not happy, they're going to tell you all the wrong things. They're going to tell you, oh, you should have left her, or you should have left him a long time ago. Oh, you this or you that. But if it's not godly counsel, then put it on the shelf, let it get dust on it, let it do whatever it needs to do. But at the end of the day, you have to make the godly decision for yourself. Now, I'm talking to the people that, know the Lord and know that there is a God and that he's the center of your marriage. Those are the people that I'm called to. However, if you're coming on this live and this is something that touches you, your spirit, or touches your marriage, then by all means, take these concepts and run with them. But those are the people that I'm called to. I'm called to people that love their husband or love their wife, and they're wanting to grow. They're wanting to grow old together. They're wanting to make sure that they do not allow the devil to come in and take what God has put together. They're wanting to, and they know without a shadow of a doubt that they want to love each other for the rest of their lives. Those are the people that I am called to, because marriage is not for everybody. Sad to say, marriage is not for everybody, because if you're not willing to put in the work, and I'm not going to work on something. I'm this type of person. I'm not working on something if it's not worth, the work. I'm a firm believer in that. I ain't working no harder than I have to. But that person, your significant other, have to be wanting to work just as hard as you. And that's what a lot of marriages fail, because some marriages, it's a one-side thing. You're wanting it better than that person wanted. And so a lot of times that's when it comes off in divorce, and then you're upset for even the people that counseled you. For me personally, being a spiritual marriage counselor, that have been something very, personal and dear to my heart when I see, marriages ends up in divorce. And, you get angry and you're like, I went through these classes for nothing. No, you learned something in those classes. Now, did your marriage survive? Maybe not. But you can't blame yourself because you chose to do the right thing and get the godly counseling. But then your spouse maybe felt a different way, What you were trying to get, he wasn't trying to get. Or what you was trying to get, she wasn't trying to get. So never blame yourself like, what you could have, should have, could have done. It takes two. Now, that particular area, I am a firm believer. Marriage is not 50-50 in certain things. But I do believe firmly, if you want a solid foundation marriage, you're going to have to work on that thing just as equal when it comes to, hey, I want this to work. I love you. I need you in my life. Regardless of what cost, I want to make sure that we are happy as a couple. Because you can be in a miserable marriage for years and years to come. But if you know that that person is not for you, you are not for that person, that's just what you are. You're just married to someone just to say you're married. But if you truly know that you guys have something to offer each other and that you know that you can make a difference, then that's when you put in the work. That's when you give your all that you can possibly give. many things changes in our situation. We get older. Um, Things change. It's amazing how, they say in sickness and health, and poor, rich, all these different things. I thought that was just cliche. That is not cliche, guys. You literally have to, if you love somebody, I don't care if you had them and they were a track star, but now they don't have legs. That's when it says you have to be with that person unconditional. And see, a lot of times, a lot of our love is not unconditional. It's from what you can get or what are you gaining out of that relationship. And those are the dangerous relationships that you can ever be in if you're trying to get something out of it more than love and, growing old together. So with that being said, I have so much that I would like to cover with you guys, but I'm going to be on YouTube and I'm going to be going over some things, some tips. It's going to be plenty of different things that you guys are actually able to come in and ask questions. It's going to be an open question. We're going to have a group of people at times where we're just going to have like an open discussion on just different things that happens, things that arise in your marriage that people may not think that you go through. And as I said, this open Facebook blog that I have, it's not just for married people. I am speaking to those ones that are still 40, 50. Well, I'll start with 30. Because when you get in 30, some people feel like, I'm overhealed now. I'm just going to go and grab whatever that's hooking. No, that's the worst decision that you can do. Love you enough to wait. And people say, oh, yeah, it's easy for you to say. No, it's not easy for you, a person to say. Now, when I'm saying that, I'm saying love you enough till you find that right person. Don't try to rush off because you feel like, oh, I'm getting to that mid-crisis to where I feel like I gotta have something. No, never feel that way because what you get might not be what you want. So I'll speak to the 30, 40, 50 and up. Make sure when you're getting to a relationship that you really, really know what you're wanting, because it's a dangerous place to be, to get into something because you just felt like your time was ticking. Because if you're going to end back into divorce court and then you in your third, fourth, fifth marriage, then that says a lot. That says a whole lot. And so love ourselves first. Work on ourselves first, because as I said, you cannot change your wife. You cannot change your husband. Your wife going to have to want to change themselves. Your husband going to have to want to change himself. You can't do the changing for him. So with that being said, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you feel like your time is ticking, no, wait on that person and he'll come to you. He'll come to you, but don't try to rush something just to feel love. Like I've been married 32 years, and you might say, oh, it's easy for you to say that because you're in a marriage. But no, it's not easy for me to say that because marriage, as I said, is work. So never look at someone, and I also talk about that in my book. Never look and feel that the grass is greener on the other side, because you don't know what that person had to do to get where they're at. You don't know what they're going through even at this point. So never feel like, oh, I just wish I was this person. Or I wish I was that person. No, wish you was you. And wish that you can be a better you. And how you become a better you is you put in the work, and you drop selfish ways, and you make sure that you are being all you can be. And that's pretty much what it's all about. It's just allowing God to do what he needs to do inside of you. As I said, I can go on and on about just different things that, women feel, or men. I just hear so many different stories. Even becoming a spiritual counselor, I was a young girl. And as I stated, I was young when I, became married, but it was women that would come to me that were older, and they would ask me for advice, and not knowing, but I would actually give them different things, and it helped them, and I thought, wow, at my young, tender age, God was allowing me to speak to these people, and their marriages was being saved, and even if they wasn't married, they end up becoming married because they held on to what I had spoke. I'll never forget, in my senior year, it was this one female, she was pregnant. And she came to me and she was in tears. One of my best friends, she came to me and she was in tears. And she stated that her husband, her fiance, she was pregnant by him. And she said that her fiance had told her over the phone that he had cheated on her. And I told her, she says, shouldn't I, I know I'm pregnant, but I can raise this baby by myself. She was like, I'm not going to, put up with someone cheating on me and things like that. I said, you know what? You're right. You don't have to put up with no type of foolery. But let me tell you one thing. If that guy came to you and he told you that he cheated on you, first of all, he had to feel some type of guilt. And second of all, if he really, really loved you, yeah, some people say, some things you keep away. You don't want to hurt the spouse. But if he really, really loved you and he's that honest to let you know that, hey, I got something to tell you that's bothering me and I can't go past this, then he was willing to risk you because of the love that he had for you. Now, if it's one of them jokers just, want to tell you that to bring you down, never let nobody do that. Ain't nobody that great. But if it's somebody that really deep in their heart done something and they like, man, wow, I need to tell you this. Weigh the odds. Test that person out. You know what I'm saying? People gonna show who they really are sometime or another. People can't pretend too long. They gonna show the real them. And so he eventually, to share the after of that, he eventually proposed to her because she had, called it off for a moment, and then he proposed to her, and they end up getting married. Now, I don't know what happened after years and years to come, but she did marry him, and, they was raising their baby together. But, I think about even at that age, I was probably a good 17, 18 years old. And I'm thinking at that tender age, for me to be able to speak something into that person's life and they were able to keep what they had. And God knows, they could be still together. I lost contact after I moved from that particular area. But just think about things like that. Never be selfish, but always seek God. And I'm talking, as I said, to people that have a relationship with the man above. Now, if you come in and you feel like some of these principles will work for you, by all means, you can use those principles. But if this is not for you, this is not your platform, then I wish you well, but I can only give you what I know that works for me. I can't go and give you things that I didn't use biblical because that's not what I done in my marriage. I always seek God in everything that I do. If he tell me, hey, go, hey, I've been gone 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or before I even got married. But if he tell you to stay, you stay at all costs because God has something that he's trying to do. And so many of us lose great marriages because we want to be so, macho. We got pride going on. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this, and that. Now, some joker beating on you, he doing this, and that. Yeah, you'll be a fool to stay in there. And now God told you to, see, that's about my book right there. Look at God. God is so amazing. But, anyway, if God told you to stay in something, God is not going to tell us to stay into something that he knows, because he knows, remember, the beginning and the ending. So if he knows that something is going to go on way down the road that we can't see, then he's not going to tell you to stay in something like that. But if he know the God I am, if he know what he's doing, allow God to be God. That's all I say. Allow God to be God. And many times, many great marriages fall because of pride, because it wasn't for the right reason. Just so many different things that can really destroy a relationship. And so, as I said, this platform is for anyone. I do have classes that I do teach. So, if you're interested, you can still come in those classes. It's not too late. My first class started January the 15th. 2020. That was the first class. I was looking for 10 couples at that particular time. However, that doesn't cut off. You are still able to come into the classes, get the counseling that you need, and pour it back into your relationship. That's what we're here for, to make sure that you have what you need concerning your marriage. So you can always still get in on those courses. Normally, as I stated, it goes year around. So if it's a 6-week session going on right now, don't feel like, man, I should have got in on this. No, you can still contact me and you're still able to get those classes over and make sure, apply them to your marriage. Now, the classes are $150. They're $150 for a 6-week session. So think about, that's actually $25. I think I counted. It's like $25 per week. We spend $25 on nonsense. And that's what I said. A lot of times marriages are falling because we're not investing in our marriage. We don't even go on dates, some of us. We done lost that touch. We don't even look at each other the same. Just things like that can really just destroy a marriage. And so that's my passion. I know God have called me to what I do because it comes natural. And I am willing. My heart is to couples. My heart is to that couple that I know really, really love each other. Now, I'm not for that buffoonery, somebody that ain't really in love or ain't really trying to go nowhere, and this joker want to be Bobo the clown all his life. Then you let that joker go ahead on and destroy himself. But you don't be a part of it. Don't let him destroy you. But that's woman or man. I ain't just talking about the man, because women can be a hot mess too. So I ain't biased. But what I'm saying is that don't put more into something when it comes to that perspective that you are actually destroying yourself. Because I stated earlier, so many things that we will change, so many things that will happen in our lives, whether if it's sickness, God forbid, anything, concerning your mind, mentalness, depression, oppression, different diseases, illness. It's so many things that can take place from that person that you fell in love with that's no longer that person because of the sickness or because of whatever caused that person not to be the same. But if we really, really love that person, it doesn't matter what that person is going through. We have to ask God to give us the strength to continue to, surpass that. Is it easy? Sometimes it's not. But if you really love that person and you're really willing to put in the work, anything worth having is worth working for. So I'm going to close out on tonight. As I said, I have a book that's going to be revised. Awesome book. It's going to be a tool that you guys can use. Also, when you're in this class, you can actually get this book, which is God Gives the Food, the Devil. I'm talking about my first book. This is the 31 Days to a Healthy Marriage. I'm sorry, I have 2 books and I got that one mixed up. But this one is the 31 Days to a Healthy Marriage, Restoration and Rehabilitation. Now, as I said, I'm going to be revising this book, and you're able to actually work together as a couple. You're going to be able to write down some things, because sometimes we can't, communication is one of the keys. And the only way communication is the key is that you're actually listening, and then you actually trying to change. You can sit there and communicate all day long. Some people can actually block you out, and you just talking, and you really thinking it's going somewhere, and that person then blocked you all the way out. And you be like, I just told you that, and we talked about that last week. Well, was he or she really listening to you? Was he really listening to you? Was she really listening to you? And so with those things, if you're not listening, you're not learning. We have to. My book also talks about learning one another. You have to learn your spouse. You must learn your spouse. If you don't know your spouse, if you're not trying to learn him, then that's a dangerous place. Because as I said, life changes. People change. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't continuing to learn and you ain't continuing to grow, hey, marriage ain't no joke. Some people look in and like, they married and this and that. Yeah, but it's work. So never be, intimidated by somebody's marriage or because you're single. Continue to stay that way until you find that right person. Don't go through Tom, Dick, Jerry, and James, and now one of them jokers wasn't for you. Or don't go through Sarah, Kimberly, whoever, and them jokers wasn't for you. Learn to love you first. And that's even in a marriage. I'm a firm believer. If I don't love me, I ain't no good for my husband. Period. You're not no good for nobody if you don't love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you're going to bring that pity party to your spouse. And then both of y'all are a hot mess. But you got to love yourself. You have to have confidence in yourself. Not that you're being, prideful or thinking you all that in a bag of chips. But you do got to have a confidence. Because a person is only going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you. And if you know that you ain't going to put up with this, and that, then hey, it is what it is. And we're going to have to meet each other, somewhere. If it ain't half, hey, meet me somewhere. And so, yes, as I said, this is my passion. I love what I do. I love helping couples. And that's not just speaking of marriage couple, but I love just helping relationships in general. But my true calling is to restore. Is to pray you through, is to have an ear, to have a shoulder. I'm like that mother when it comes to that. That's like that pillar, when you have that mother that you can come to and you can talk to. And I must say, I am a true woman when it comes to you telling me something confidential. I take pride in that. Like, I know that I would never go and try and tell someone else something that you shared with me, because I feel that that's confidential. I feel that that's inappropriate, very unprofessional of me to go and share anything that you have shared with me. So know that anything, I don't care if it's a friend and both of you guys are going through the same thing with me, your friend will not know unless you told her that, hey, I am in Frankie's class and you guys can share with whatever. But do not think Frankie is going to come back. And even if you ask me, can I would not do it. What I will tell you is that if you want to, we can do like a group thing. And if you guys feel that, God is connecting you two together in that season, then, I'll give you guys the tools to do that. But I will never share what another person share with me concerning their marriage, because that's very, very, very personal and dear to my heart. And, I take it to heart, and I make sure that I keep those things dear to me. And when I say dear to me, I hold them, I pray about them, and I give them to God. I don't hold them because sometimes these are for other counselors and things like that. If you're one of those people that have a big heart, and when you're doing whatever, if it's marriage or whatever you're doing, whatever field that you're doing, if you hold those things to your heart, that can be too much burden. You're actually carrying that stuff even into your own relationship, and that's unhealthy. What you do, you hear it, you give it godly advice, and then you let it go and you give it to God as they do what they need to do. Because you can talk and counsel till you turn purple in the face. And if that couple is not coming together, and if they're not applying those principles and they're not doing what they need to do, you have just did what? Waste your time. And so I don't like wasting time. I like to add value. That's my mission in every marriage that I run across. I like to add value. So with that being said, I have a book blog called Frankie Book Blog. I also have a book called The 31 Days to a Healthy Marriage, Restoration and Rehabilitation. And I'm about to come out with another one that you guys will have tools that you can actually question. It's like a question answer open thing that you guys are able to use to apply to your marriage. Well, I'm going to go for tonight. As I said, I'm going to be on YouTube. So you can subscribe to YouTube and you can see more of this type action that's going on for free. These are things that I'm going to be doing for free, but you are able to get into this class, a 6-week session for $150. That's like $25 per week, which is nothing considering you're investing in your marriage. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close for tonight, and you guys have a blessed night.